Hi FlossTube friends, I'm Sherry, Colorado Cross Stitcher here on YouTube, also on Instagram under that name, and I have a shop at coloradocrossstitcher.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is the end of May and I have a lot of things to show you here. Then I'm going to do my 3 things, which if you watch regularly you know what those are, and then we're going to do a drawing, and then I'm going to give you a little tour of my stitching room, not the room I stitch in, but the room I keep all of my stitching supplies in, and then quick shop update with a few things from the shop, and then we'll wrap it up. So first of all, thank you for your comments on my last video. I had asked everybody how many hours a day you stitch, and I said I usually do 4 to 5 because I stitch in the evenings after work, and it was really interesting to read all the different comments. So if you're interested in knowing how much people stitch, I would say most people stitch 2 to 3 hours a day based on just the comments. And of course it depends on your life and everything too, but it was fun to read all of your comments. So let's start with the calendar. Again, this is my stitching book that I keep all of my fabric and pattern information, and I write down what I stitch on. And so here's April, because I know the last time I FlossTube was sometime in April. And now May is practically done. So here's May. People ask where I get my stickers. We sell stickers at the shop. If you just put Stitchers in the search engine, all of the ones we have available will come up, but you can buy stickers anywhere. A lot of local shops sell them, so if you have downtown local home or gift shops, those will probably have a lot of them. Whenever I travel, I try and find a sticker or stickers that represent the place I went to, so that's kind of fun. And then I put these, I do a lot of this washi tape, the really narrow washi tape, just to add a little more color, just because I like color in stickers. So, you know, I just add it in spots where it looks a little blank. It has no other meaning to blocking those days off. But anyway, or you can just keep your calendar and just put whatever information you want and not worry about stickers at all. But I like stickers, so I do stickers. Okay, so first I have a framed finish to share with you. And it's my country store, which I showed you the stitched finish last time, and I promised, like every time I show that I tell you, well, I really wanted to do that because it reminds me of a toy I used to play with at my grandparents' house. And this is a little country store that came from Germany. And so this is the little wooden store that I was telling you about. So it has little German labels on all of the drawers. I'm sure my grandma painted this and put the wood-like wallpaper in there, but all of the drawers come out, so I used to fill them with, you know, all the things she would give me, dried beans and lentils and things. And then I don't think this scale came with the country, this little store, but we've always kept it in there. And then it has, so then we've used the little scoopers to weigh the beans. And anyway, one of my favorite toys that I played with at my grandparents' house. So when I saw the country store by Told by a Garden, I didn't pull the pattern to show you the pattern cover. Hang on, that's what it reminded me of. So I stitched that up. I called it, and it still is, the smallest, biggest project I've ever done, because the letters are hand symboled back in the, I guess, 80s, 70s, 80s. Of course, before computers, they would carefully hand symbol, and you know, they do a good job of it, but it's still a little harder, I think, to read than just computer symbols. And it is full coverage in a lot of places. That's another reason it was a little tough. And the third thing is, it is so many small things on this country store shelf that you'll stitch like 3 or 4 or 5 stitches of one color and then end the thread and change the color. So it was not necessarily a fun stitch, but it's going to be one of my favorite pieces. I just love it. So here it is framed. I love the blue frame. I have all of my framing done by Sydney, and She is at our shop every Saturday. She also takes things to frame by mail if you would like to do that. So I will put her email address in the comments below. Hephaestus Frames, if you would like to have her frame something. She does the best framing job of anybody I've ever had frame, including myself. So anyway, I'm happy to have that done, and I get to keep this at my house because we don't sell the pattern at the shop. But by the way, one of you guys asked me in the comments last time if I wanted to sell my copy of this, and I wasn't ready to make that decision yet. I don't know why, because you know I'm not going to stitch it again, but I just thought, you know, if someday my daughter wants to stitch it or whatever. So I said I wasn't sure yet, and the very next day I got a big box full of Told in a Garden patterns from this wonderful customer of ours who wanted to donate them to the Humane Society shelves that we have in the shop. So we take gently used older patterns and we sell them for $1 a piece in the shop, and 100% of that money goes to our local Humane Society. So in that batch was another copy of Country Garden. So if you're the one who asked me last time, email me. I did go back and answer you in there, but you probably didn't get that. But email me and I'd be happy to get that extra copy off to you. Okay, what else? Okay, this is my next favorite thing that I stitched, and I did not pull the pattern for this either. I don't know what I did with it. I'm probably in my finished patterns. This is called Mrs. Patmore's Sweet Home by Quaint Rose Needle Arts. And when I saw it, I loved the colors because the colors remind me of vintage tablecloths somehow. And on the piece, it says Mrs. Patmore's Sweet Home. And as the designer said, she thought, wondered who Mrs. Patmore was, how sweet it was that she did a little design for her home, how much she must have loved her home. And so I didn't want necessarily Mrs. Patmore's Sweet Home on there. So I decided to stitch it with Home Sweet Home on there. So that's what I did. And here is the little pattern. And again, I love the colors, and I love it. It was such a quick, simple stitch, and I just thought that would be a cute stitch for somebody, like a welcome home gift if they bought a new home. It would also look really sweet framed, and then you could actually stitch the address underneath. So, and then I just trimmed it with a little bit of baker's twine in green. So really cute little pillow. I love how it turned out. So I just used their Sweet Home pattern, and it was really easy to reconfigure where you're going to center that, because basically it said Mrs. Patmore's Sweet Home. So all I was doing was doubling the word home. So just find the middle of the word sweet and line that up with the middle of your pattern and stitch that to the end and that to the beginning, and that's a quick and easy way to do it. But I don't know where I'm going to put it, because if you saw my most recent, well, I don't know if it's my most recent now, but I recently put up a reel on Instagram of our red cabinet where I keep all of our smalls, and it's full. And I don't know where all of those other smalls are going. And if I could buy another cabinet, I would do it, but I don't know where I'd put it in the shop. So I might have to start rotating the little pillows, which is kind of sad because I like seeing all of them out, but this is going to be one of my absolute favorites. And then another one that I did was Stitching Quaker by Primrose Cottage. And it calls for color and cotton or DMC. I still wanted the hand-dyed look, so I subbed in Weeks Dye Works and 1 DMC. And so I'll tell you what I used in case. Well, let me show you. You don't know if you'd like it yet. Here's the little pillow. I stitched this on a pink, a really, really light pink. In fact, I don't even know if you can tell that it's pink in the photo. And it was a piece that Misty from Luminous Fiber Arts sent me one time with an order. And I love how it turned out, but it's not overly pink looking once you get it here. Anyway, let me tell you what the threads are in case you're interested. Or I could just hold it up. I don't know if you can read that. I'll hold it up, but I'll also read it. So if you want to take a screenshot, if that works, and then I'll read it for you too. So I used Weeks Dye Works Seafoam, Bright Leaf, Kentucky Bluegrass, Madison Rose, Grasshopper, Pelican Gray, Liquid Gold, Turkish Red, and DMC B5200. So that was another fun one. I think I still need to stitch, I think 4th of July from last year and the St. Patrick's Day one from this year, but and the honeybee one. I guess I have a few more of those to stitch. Otherwise I've stitched all of them, but I really love their things. They're Quakers. Okay, here's another one that I finished. And that's Flag Folk, and I did change some things. So here's the pattern. And I'll hold this up. I subbed in collards instead of bullfrog, fathom instead of dolphin, and Lancaster instead of terracotta. So I wanted the green, the red, and the blue to be a little bit darker. Then I left off the words we are, so that it says we are above the two flags. I filled in the scallops on the edge to make it look like bunting. And here's my finish on that one. So it's just a little deeper in color. And again, I left off we are at the top, so it just says Flag Folk. I also carried the bunting down this side so that it has bunting all the way around. In this, there's a little other motif going on along that side. And I wasn't sure what that was, so I just made it bunting. So I love this. And I don't have a lot of 4th of July or summertime things to put out, so I'm glad to have that one done. And I took it in Saturday to get a frame, and then I said, but I need it back. You can't have it yet. So I have the frame ordered, and hopefully we'll have that soon. All right, then another one that I did was, first I'm going to show you 3 other ones. So last year for our Advent, Stitcher's 12 Days of Christmas kits every year, which go up in September, usually the first week in September or thereabouts, even though I've already had people asking. So usually first week either last week in August, first week in September, make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. And so I did a little bit of spring, a little bit of autumn, a little bit of Christmas. And so then people asked, well, are you going to do a little bit of summer? And actually I had already designed it. I just hadn't stitched it, so I didn't include it in the Advent. So this is a little bit of summer. Well, let me show you the other ones first. The reason I did this is because Gloriana has such gorgeous hand-dyed multicolor skeins. Should have brought one to show you. Not thinking. And, you know, I look at those and I think I'd love to stitch with them, but what can you stitch with them? Knowing that as you stitch, the colors are just going to transpire and move around the piece, what would be a good way to use that? So I picked 4 of my favorite multicolors. I'm not going to be able to tell you what they are, except for this new one. But when these patterns come out, I'll tell you what they are. So the little bit of summer is ready now. But the other ones will be ready, like I'll put fall out in the fall, I'll put Christmas out before Christmas, and I'll put spring out next spring. So let's start with fall, a little bit of fall. And what I did was I put 3 words on it that reminded me of that season. And then I did different Quaker motifs. So the fall one has leaves, cider, and bonfires. And this is that one. So this will be ready for sale in the fall. And then I just did the ruching with some of the ribbon on the edges on that one. Each one has a different trim. I'd like to say I planned that, but okay, this is a little bit of Christmas, and this has joy, Noel, and peace on it, and it is trimmed in chenille. And again, there's one skein that does the whole thing. I did mine 2/2 on 36 count white. I think it was 36, not 32. I did 2 skeins or 2 threads because I really like the look of 2 threads, the coverage on it. And since these colors were so fun to play with, I really wanted the colors to show up. So again, you want to stitch the whole X when you're doing something like this. And if you're using 2 threads, always line them up the same way. So if you pull one thread out, pull the second thread out, and so that all the colors are lined up along both of them, and then that's how you stitch with them. So again, it's only one color, but as you stitch and complete each X as you go, it makes the color travel around. And the other fun thing is then no 2 are alike. So you and your friend can stitch these and yours will look totally different. So that was the Christmas. And then the one for spring says bloom, grow, and renew. And that is trimmed in pom-pom trim. So it just was a way to use the silks, those beautiful silks. And I loved working with them. So for summer, the reason I wanted to show you those first is because those are a little more subdued, but the summer one is wild. And that one is done with Ada's Rainbow, a color called Ada's Rainbow, and it is bright. And I knew it was going to be bright, and it's just what I wanted for the summer one. And so summer says relax, vacation, and sun. And here is that one. And this is the one that is ready and available right now. Again, different Quaker motifs, just that kind of go along with the season or not. And then I found this colored rickrack trim, I think at Hobby Lobby. I actually bought it for stitching boxes because I use this fatter rickrack trim on the stitching boxes, but it was perfect for this pillow. In my mind, when I was finishing this pillow, I really wanted to include the rickrack in the seam so that the points stood up, and I could not figure out how to do that. The corners are problematic. I know how to do that on flats, like when I do ornaments, Christmas ornaments, it's easy to do rickrack so that they point up, but I could not figure out how to sew the pillow so that the rickrack points showed up. So it's just on the border. So here is the pattern. And when you open it up, it's big, so it's easy to stitch from. So that is a little bit of summer. If you're interested in that, you can go to our website, go to designers, go to Colorado Cross Stitcher, and it's in that section. Okay, then I went back to my peacock unicorn badger, which I told you last time, maybe last time or 2 times ago. I have a hard time putting this away because I love working on it so much. I like fill-in. I mean, I don't necessarily like that water is going to be a lot of fill-in. I don't necessarily like big things of grass or big things of whatever, but I like small fill-ins because I think I can get a rhythm going and the stitches look so pretty. So this one is just fun to do because a lot of the things are outlined and you can do the little bits inside and then just fill in and not pay attention to the pattern for the rest. So I'm having a lot of fun working on it. I'm doing it on 36 count. I usually work on 40 count, but it's a dark green color and I thought my eyes would be happier if I was doing that on 36 rather than 40. I usually stitch on 40 just because I like the coverage of one strand better on 40, and I like stitching with one strand better than 2 strands. So that forces me to go to 40. And really, once your eyes get used to it, you know, if you're tempted to bump up to a higher count fabric, And one of the reasons I like higher counts too, besides the thread coverage, is I really like having a smaller piece to frame, because some of those small pieces just look so fun. So anyway, here's my progress on that. So last time I had just this little section here done, so I spread across the other side. And I am just doing this in the called for DMCs. And I think I'm leaving for the Australia trip that I told you about tomorrow. I think this is the only thing I'm going to take, because it'll give me a lot of stitching if I have time for stitching. And so I hope to make more progress on it. So the other thing I wanted to show you though is somebody asked me, because we have the mag dots in our shop, and I use these little magnets, these little guys, for holding my fabrics. And they are really strong. In fact, if you put them too close together, they buddy up. And somebody asked me, actually a couple people asked me in the last video when I showed the mag dots, to show how I use them on my fabrics. So I have my hoop. I do stitch in a hoop. I stitch in a 5-inch hoop. And so I put the hoop where I want it. I'm gonna put it right here, because that's what I need to stitch next, is a little bird right there. Okay, so put the hoop where you want it. That's where I want my hoop. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. Can't do it upside down. There we go. And then what I do is I just start rolling my fabric. So I fold it. I know you can't see this. Fold it over down to there. And then I'm going to take this side, and I'm just, can you see that? Yeah. I'm just going to keep turning and turning and turning. And I fold it around till I get to the side, okay? And then I'm gonna put a mag dot here and on the back, so let me do that. And then I continue with this. I just kind of roll this up just so it's tight and it holds itself in. And then I take it up to here. I'm going to be stitching here, or it'd be easy to stitch here. And then I put the second set of mag dots in. The sets come 3 pairs to a set. And there you have it. And so it's easy to hold on to when I stitch. My hand is under here for doing I do the sewing method. And it's just a small bit of surface area that I have to worry about. And so super easy. So if you need those mag dots, check our website. We got them in stock. Okay, then the next 2 things that I finished were for the Birds of a Feather, which you know I bought the rights to rechart all of the Birds of a Feather patterns. And so one of them is the May, because I just finished the July one, the May birthday cat. And these are French birthday cat series, so the months are always spelled in the French way. And on the originals, she put the name of a person at the top and their birth date at the bottom, so top and bottom of the cat. I'm stitching them just with the cat instead of making them birthday cats, but the chart does have the birthday information, the name and the date, as the original did. I'll show you. So if you want to do that, so that, for example, this one said Alice, 30th of May. So we chart it like the original. I'm just stitching it without that for my own personal ones. Anyway, this is the May birthday cat. And it is my favorite birthday cat so far because I love that checkerboard shirt and I love the denim overalls. And she was out in her garden picking daisies for her hat and for her basket. And so there's my finish. This one is done on, I did mine on 40 count straw. We have it available in kits with 36 count because more of you like 36 than 40. And it includes the pattern and it includes the threads. So, May birthday cat. Now I'm kind of wishing that I had stitched these birthday cats into ornaments so I could put them up on my tree. But they'll be fun to have out each month and swap out too. So then I just finished it with a little bit of twine, which I really like baker's twine. I try and buy it in all the colors that I can, so I always have one that matches, and then I stuff with crushed walnut shells. But the baker's twine, to me, it just covers the seam. It covers up here on the bottom where I left it open so I could stuff it. And I just think it gives a little, like a really subtle border around the edge. So it doesn't take away from the stitching or the piece. It's very subtle, but I love that. So we actually came out with 4 birds of a feather patterns this time. The next one I stitched, and again, I made this into a pattern, finished it with baker's twine, stuffed it with crushed walnut shells. This is Summer Garden. And that was done on, I think, Weeks Angel Wings, angel hair. Really pale, subtle yellow color. Here is the pattern. And I'm gonna look. Angel hair. So here's the pattern. Comes with, oh, look at all those gorgeous colors. I mean, that's why it was so fun to stitch, because I couldn't wait to play with all those pretty colors. So, again, you can get it as a kit or patterned by itself. All right, then the next 2 are ones that I did not stitch, but they are the original design, original finished pieces from Birds of a Feather. And the first one is Bitter Flower. Bitter Flower. And this says, the bee sucks honey out of the bitterest flower, and it has a uppercase alphabet and a lowercase alphabet top all around the edges, room for you to put your initials, and then just beautiful flower and bee on it. Somebody, and I don't remember who said it, but somebody told me that somebody out there in FlossTube land was working on this and didn't want to say the bee sucks honey out of the bitterest flower because they have teenagers, and she said there's no way I'm putting the word sucks on anything with teenagers in the house, which I thought was a funny thing. So we charted it as is with the word sucks, but I also charted it as sips and that was also from this unknown person who said she was going to use the word sips. So you have 2 choices when you stitch it. And here is the finished piece. Isn't that pretty? So the bee sucks honey, or the bee sips honey out of the bitterest flower. It's really a fun one. This would be a really pretty one to keep up in spring and summer. Not that you couldn't keep it up year round, but as I get more and more stitched pieces, and one of the reasons I stopped stitching back in the late 90s was because I ran out of wall space. And so when I started back up in 2017, I was just gonna stitch Houses of Hawk Run Hollow because I love houses. And then I just, of course, got right back into loving cross stitching. I was knitting at the time. I had a yarn and quilt shop, so didn't have a whole lot of extra time to be doing cross stitching, but then I learned after I did Houses of Hawk Run Hollow and I didn't want to stop stitching, I learned about pillow finishes and flat folds and ornaments and so many different things that I don't think I had in my mind back in the 80s and 90s. Back then, at least the stitchers I knew, we would stitch something, we would frame it, we would put it on the wall, or we would gift it. And, you know, once I ran out of wall space, I wasn't really motivated to keep it up, just to have them in a drawer. So anyway, I don't know why I started telling you that whole story. Why did I go down that? I don't know why I started down that story, but I'm glad to be back into stitching and to, oh, I know what I was going to say. Instead of putting everything up on the walls, especially as I get more pieces finished, I anticipate having a wall with seasonal things. So this would be on my spring and summer wall, and then just swapping things out. So you've got a new wall each season or each holiday or whatever, and I do like that idea. So this one was done on cream, I think. And then here are the pretty colors in the kit. Bitter flower. And then the last one for the month of May, we usually come out with the patterns around the third week in the month, depending, but the last one is one that so many of you guys have emailed me about wanting me to do, and it's on, it has been on the list. So like I said, everything's on the list. So this is Alphabet Sampler, and I love the primitive look on this. I love the birds. I love the colors. So I did get this a model from Megan, who owns Birds of a Feather, she was one of the 3 original designers of Birds of a Feather. So I did get her model, borrow her model for the cover, but I want to stitch this myself just because I think it's so beautiful. And here is the stitched piece done on Mocha by Weeks. And it only has 3 colors, doubles of 1 color, 2 skeins of 1 color, but room for your initials and the date. And to me, these look blue, kind of blues. The actual colors are here. But one of them is onyx, and onyx kind of sways blue a little bit. So that is number 4 in the May patterns that we redid. And is that everything? That's all of the stitching. So let's move into my 3 things. So because, well, first let me show you the non-travel thing. So the first thing is, if you like salads, and if you like, especially if you like chopped salads, I hope that you have this contraption because it is amazing. So you put your wedge of lettuce or your tomato or your whatever, and these are really sharp, and then you just slap that down. It goes into here and you've chopped it. You can put your carrot, your cucumber, your pieces of ham, whatever you like to add to your salad, broccoli, cauliflower, and it will chop it and then it comes off. It's like really sharp. And then the top comes off. You can either store it in here or like we do, we just dump it right into the big salad. So isn't that cool? I will link to this in the notes below. This is awesome. Sorry. Full Star. Full Star is the brand. But again, it is, I don't think I've tried anything in there that I couldn't just plop right through. You know, if you wanted to make like a berry compote for topping of a pie or a crumble or ice cream, you could, you know, do all of the different things in here. So it's really handy. I don't like to get a lot of new kitchen gadgets because you know, a lot of times they don't get used, but that one is really handy to have. Okay, so because I'm packing to leave tomorrow, I thought, well, I'm going to show you some of the things that I take on my trips. But two of the things, so I'm going to separate into number 2 and number 3. Two of the things are something I take on my trip, but also have next to me all the time at my stitching chair. And one is this Peepers glass cleaner. So it is some kind of micro something fiber that cleans your glasses. So you just put your glass lens between the two little things and it just cleans it right up. And it is amazing to me. I do not touch my glasses when I'm stitching or when I'm working. And how do they get smudged or foggy anyway? I don't know. But this cleans them off. So I do this a couple times in the evenings when I'm stitching. And so I have that by my stitching chair, but I'm also going to take it on my trip. The other thing is my, iPods. And I use my iPods a lot, listening to books on tape when I walk, all the time in the airport and in the airplanes. So some kind of earbuds, so you can listen to a book on tape or listen to your favorite music or listen to your favorite podcast. Okay, number 3 is 3 things that I always take when I travel. I will link to all these things below so you don't have to keep track of them. So the first one is this recharger. I think it's like $30 and it has 3 in the back, 1 at the top, 4 different types of plugins so that when you're on a flight, especially if you're on a long flight or if you're flying somewhere and not going to be anywhere where you can plug in your phone to recharge or your iPad or whatever you're listening to, you can plug this in, or your stitching light. You can plug this into where you would typically recharge that particular item, and the charge from this will recharge your whatever you plug it into. So like when I go to a stitching retreat and I take my cordless lamp, it will go till almost dinner time, being unplugged, and then it dies. So then I can plug this in and get another 5 or 6 hours without having to actually recharge the light with the charging plug-in. So this is very handy. This is new. I just got this because I was reading a thread on Reddit about things that you must have when you're traveling. So this is called Airfly. And the way it works is you plug it into the TV on the back of the seat. You know, if you're flying and they're going to show a movie or whatever, you can plug it into the back. Here's a picture of it. And it will transmit to your wireless earbuds. You know, they always hand out headphones for you to borrow, and then you plug that in, but then you've got that cord in your way, and especially if you're trying to stitch, this is, and it's small, just charged it up, tiny. So this is the size of it. So this will just plug into that TV in the back, and then I will sync it with my AirPods, and then I can use my wireless AirPods to watch a movie on the plane. And then the last thing I always take when I travel is a little notebook. And I attach a pen tab. You know how you can get these pen tabs? You can buy these anywhere. And you can attach it to a notebook so you can always keep your pen handy with your notebook. And, you know, sometimes I'll have an idea on the plane, or I'll come up with or I'll see something that'll make me think of a new design, or I meet somebody and I want their contact information. So I just like having a little size notebook. Of course, I had to put a sticker on it that goes in my carry-on luggage, so I've got it available. All right, I think that's everything. I am going to turn this around and show you my stitching room. Actually, I filmed that stitching room yesterday, so I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do the stitching room. We'll insert that here, and then I'm going to come back and show you a few things from the shop, and then also I'm going to do the drawings when we come back too. So hang tight. Okay, so I am standing at my dining room table where I usually FlossTube, and this is my view when I'm talking to all of you. So this little room is a little office right inside the front door, and I have made it into my stitching room. And not stitching room in that I stitch in the room, but stitching room because I keep all of my supplies in the room. So I'm going to show you the room. It's very tiny. And then I'll show you how I keep all of my things stored. So this wall has all of my patterns in that cabinet on the end and all of my threads in the wooden cabinet. And I'll show you both of those. And then in those plastic totes up there are all of my, well, not all of my whips, but most of my whips and some things that I have kitted up. I also have hoops along there that I don't use. I should really get rid of those. I have my knitting needle organizer there that I seldom use, but I'm not getting rid of those. So here's my cabinet. Let me get it open. And so this has some patterns that I've done. I did clean it out about a month ago and took most of my finished patterns down to the basement, so it wasn't taking up space because I was running out of room. But these are probably 90% of all the patterns I have. And a few kits up in that top bin. And I know when I get those too full, then I have to stop buying patterns. Or get a new bin. Get a new cabinet. Get a new storage system. Okay, this is my favorite thing. This was an antique that Paul and I bought when we were first married. And we had a little ranch house and the kitchen was teeny tiny. You couldn't even really fit a table and chairs in there. So we found this at an antique store, and when you open up the cabinet, there's a bench that comes down from each side of the door and a table that comes down from the back. And so you have a little table with bench seats on either side. And we've always loved this piece, but we've never had a home since then that we needed, you know, this kind of a table. So I was so happy to have it repurposed into my thread cabinet. So Paul took the benches off, he attached the table to the back of it, and then he put hooks in there so that all of my threads can be organized. I have all my threads organized by company and then alphabetically. So let me open it up. It's about 6 feet tall and about, I don't know, 5 inches deep. And so he put hooks along the back, and then he put those little wooden strips on the doors so that we could put more hooks. Really, the first version of it just had hooks on the back. And then of course I got too much thread and needed more thread space. So I do not like having to refile threads, but I love having them all organized here. Okay, I'm trying not to show you that dining room table because I have stuff on it to get ready for Australia and stuff on it for floss tubing because I haven't done my floss tube, which you've already seen because this will go at the end of it. Anyway, if you get a glimpse, just ignore. All right, so that is how I keep all of my threads. My DMCs are all along there. I've got Classic Colorworks, the Gentle Arts, the Weeks, silks, and just different miscellaneous threads along this side. Extra hoops. I keep a little hole punch right there in the corner because I do punch holes in my weeks so I can ring them better. So I see cabinets that could be turned in. Oh, I was going to tell you this. There's a picture of our son eating lunch one time. at this table. I love that. I see cabinets like this all the time on Facebook Marketplace that could easily be turned into a thread cabinet. The nice thing is it's closed, so the colors don't fade, and it just keeps everything, you know, dust free and fade free. So keep an eye out on Facebook Marketplace if you want to find something like that, because it really holds a lot. All right, then I know that looks like a weird place to put samplers, but I usually have these blinds closed, but that top window is open all the time, and it shines light right there, which is where I used to have those samplers, and I didn't want them in the direct sunlight. So I put them up there. These two are ones that I will eventually rechart. And then we have antique filing cabinet. We love antiques. This is a photo that my husband did. So he does photography, and then he manipulates it and makes it more modern and abstract. So those are train wheels, and then he colorized it and then repainted some of the parts, and it's one of my favorite ones. I love it. All right, then over here, I've got just, let's see, and those roll-ups are more antique samplers that I'm gonna rechart. Then I've got, here's a couple more antique samplers I'm gonna redo. Then I've got this shelf just with extra stuff, but most everything, the tins and everything, have storage. I use as storage. So for example, that red tin on top of the little cabinet has beads in it. This little circular tin has old hoops in it. And then this is where I keep all my fabrics. Now this wall, I'm gonna back up, is a little tight. You know, a lot of stuff on that wall, but we got this little dresser at an antique store because I just needed more space for my fabrics. I don't even remember what I had there before. I've had this cabinet for quite a while, and so I don't remember exactly how I used to store it, but now I store it by size. So the top two are 40 counts, and I've got my 36 counts, whoops. And I've got, you know, smaller count, or not smaller counts. Yeah, I have one of the bottom ones is 46-56. One of it's Lugana. So it's just handy for keeping all of my threads, not my threads, my fabrics, sorry. I'm thinking about the thread cabinet in front of you. So that's my one and only thread cabinet. And I like to use that for a lot of the little things. And I'll show you, like I have my floss drops that we all traded. So anytime I need extra floss drops, I come here and use those. I have, let's see, washi tape, more floss drops, extra needles, beeswax, little scissors, just extra stuff. And this is nice because we have a lot of little things in what we do. Those are some of the threads that came in it originally. So that's a paint by number snowman that my daughter did for me, which I love. And then I have some of my holiday pieces. Let's see, it's glary, sorry about that, that I really love. And let's see if I can, there we go, that I really love, but I don't want to keep them necessarily up in the main part of the house, but I love looking at them. So some of those are up there. Here's some beautiful photographs that our son took on one of his many trips. This cabinet is an antique pie safe. And so the inside has tin shelves, and I use that for some extra patterns, extra floss, extra decorative things for the different seasons. It holds a lot. And then this library cabinet has a lot of the same things. It has a lot of my smalls, and it has a a lot of little tchotchkes. You know that white cabinet that I have behind me when I FlossTube? All of that little stuff is stored in here. And then tomatoes. Also tomatoes, which you know I love. And so in here, it's just got the seasonal things that I come over and pull out when I'm going to do a new FlossTube or when I'm changing things around for the season. There's no rhyme or reason. Really, I should have drawers. I think that's mostly Halloween, but I fit stuff wherever I can fit stuff. So it's a great cabinet for storing that kind of stuff. Really, you could line all of your pillows up, you know, like this, and you could fit a whole bunch of them in. I should probably do that. Good idea. Anyway, all of these just have that kind of stuff in it. At the very bottom, I do have some threads, which I need to organize a little better. So that's all my little things in my little stitching room that I don't stitch in, and how I store all of my stuff, my fabrics, my threads, my patterns, my whips. Also, you might notice they're all full, so I cannot have any more whips. I'm out of room. All right, well, thanks for visiting my little stitching room. Thanks for watching this FlossTube, and I will be back with another FlossTube next month. Bye-bye. Okay, so thank you for watching my little stitching room. Now, what I would like to know in the comments, so I showed you how I store my fabric, how I store my threads, how I store my patterns, my hoops. I would love to know your tips and tricks for how you store things in the comments. And I think that would be a gold mine for people then looking for ideas to go to our comments and read about all your ideas. I've shared my ideas. So if you have any really fun ways, not even fun ways, just smart, practical ways to store things or different ways to store things, go ahead and drop that in the comments so that we can all benefit from that. Okay, let me do the drawing. And then I want to tell you about camp too. So the drawing, last time, I had 2 copies of this, and I shared last time because every time this magazine comes in, donations, you know how I told you we get donations for the Humane Society section, and every time this comes in, or anytime we get donations, I go through the patterns just for fun to see them, and if there's any in there that I want, then I pay my $1 each or whatever to the fund and get it. So the 3 times I have paid my $1 and gotten this particular magazine because I love those ice skaters on the front. I love that. So I asked you, if anybody wanted a copy, these 2 copies, and I had you use the word ice if you were interested in that. And so Linda_James and Roseanne Cowitz 2652. You 2 were the winners of that drawing. And if you will contact me, my email address is in the notes below, and I will get these shipped out to you. And then we had this cute Teresa Kogut fabric from Joyful Stitching Store on Etsy. Has a little accessory pouch on the inside, and you were to use the word spring if you were interested in that. And the winner of this is Ann_craftallthethings 7323. So Ann, if you will send me your email or your shipping address, I will get that shipped off to you. And then this time I have a Christmas one, because are we going to start stitching Christmas in July? I hope so. I've got a couple of birds of a feather Christmas patterns ready for July for you. So this is adorable. It has all the different characters bundled up in their scarves and hats. Isn't that cute? And comes with a little accessory pouch. So let's use the word winter. You used the word spring for this one. Let's use the word winter to be entered into the drawing to win that next time. Against random drawing, I just run it through the randomizer. Okay, and then lastly, I just wanted to show you a few things new to the shop or restocked in the shop. The first one is we added a new color of the Nerge hoops. Well, I'm trying to show it to you in the different sizes. Look on the website. So we have size 4, size 3, size 2, and I'm out of hands. Size 1. And when people are new to stitching, they ask me, do you need to find a hoop big enough to enclose your whole piece? You do not. I have used all different kinds of hoops, Nerge, Hardwick hoops, Queen hoops, Duchess hoops, and I've never had problems with moving the hoop around and putting it right over my stitching that I've already stitched, and I've never had any damage to that. So get the size hoop that you're most comfortable holding and stitching with. For me, I said I like 5 to 6 inches because that's a nice size in my hands to work with. Some people like a bigger piece so they can go all the way across or all the way across this way without having to move the hoop. So it's a really personal decision. But if you come in our store and ask us about hoops, we have you hold it and see the feel of it and see what you think you'll like. So those do come in 4 sizes. We also have them in blue and green, and but they're nice and lightweight. So that's the nice thing about Nerge hoops. Then we've had a bunch of new Not Forgotten Farm patterns, and I know I did not pull all the new ones, but I just wanted to show you some of them and some that are back in stock. Prunella Squash Bottom is, her and the Reverend Squash Bottom are two that I've wanted to stitch for a long time. They're just so cute. Fall. She's got a lot of these little guys. Excuse me. So this is Parade Sam. I love this one because I've told you before how I love heart and hand. What a sweet little ornament to do for a friend. Flag Folk is back in stock. I showed you my finished one. That's by Not Forgotten Farm. Carrot Top, cute for spring. Cookie Claws. Little Valentino. Little Nick. I thought this was pretty. A Home Sweet Home, be it ever so humble, Home Sweet Home with the Quaker. So there's a lot more, but check out Not Forgotten Farm on the website. These I wanted to show you because I don't know if you know about these. 3 books that Hands-On Design and Summerhouse Needleworks, Stitchworks, oh, I should open these up first, sorry, did together. So they each did a bunch of designs. They're all included in this booklet. So this is one, and this is the winter sampling. So all of those things in the back are in here, as well as finishing directions. Of course, really well done. I won't crinkle it. This is the spring one. Guessing there'll be a fall. I don't know. Spring comes with all those. And sometimes I walk around the shop before a FlossTube thinking, what might they not know about? What have I not shown lately in addition to what's come in? This is the summer one. I really love that alphabet on the front. And this is the back with all the projects. Super fun stuff. We've restocked Modern Folk. So here's a bunch of Modern Folk. Love, Peace, and Tenderness. There's a lot of 1 or 2 color patterns from Modern Folk, which you could do in any color that you love. And I think that's fun. Or remember my Year of Silhouettes by Joan Elliott that I showed you probably in December, FlossTube, where you add color as you want. This 4 Seasons would be super fun to do in the colors of the season. Or, you know what? You could do this in some of the multicolor Gloriana. Pick one for each season like I did with our little pillows. Oh, that would be fun. Now I want to do that. I think what I would do is maybe make the border and the middle, you know, the middle medallions all one color, and then do the multicolored Gloriana in each section. Oh, that would be so fun. Family Patchwork Sampler. This is the one I made for my dad, and I did mine in blue. This is a new one, The Best Company. A Cold Sea Sampler. Well, that would be pretty in blues just because sea, the word sea. Cozy Christmas Cottage, also new. The Lynette's song. I love the subtle color in that. This I've always liked, Ruskin's Penguins. One can't be angry when one looks at a penguin. So true. Reaching Skyward. This is one where you pick 2 colors, and you can pick any 2 colors your little heart desires. And No Time Like the Present. Also pretty. Let's see. I think I'm gonna save the rest for next time because I wanted to mention Cross Stitch Camp really quick. For those of you who are joining us, this is our 5th year of Cross Stitch Camp. I did many years of knitting camp with my Loopy U business when I owned the Loopy U, and wanted to do camp with cross stitchers. So it's each month sits on its own. If you can only join us for 1 month, please join us. There's no fee to enter. You don't have to sign up. And there's a challenge each month just to make it kind of fun to pick something out. So the first month, for the month of June, I said pick something that you can include or already includes a motif of nighttime or daytime, depending on if you're more of a nighttime stitcher or a daytime stitcher. So you might have a moon in it, or stars, or nighttime plants or animals, or just something to represent night if you mostly stitch at night. Daytime, like that summer garden piece would be a perfect one for daytime stitchers because look at all those pretty blooms. So you could include flowers or daytime animals or the sun or something like that. So that's your challenge. Now, we have in the past only reported on Instagram. Instagram is screwing up with the hashtags. So we added a photo gallery to our website. I still want you to post your starting picture on Instagram because in the gallery, I just want finished ones. So anytime June 1st, don't post before June 1st. June 1st or later, show us a picture of your June project. Just the cover, not the inside of your pattern, the cover of your pattern. You could maybe lay the fabric you're using and the floss. And that's your starting picture. And you're gonna do hashtag Cross Stitch Camp 2025. And also hashtag Colorado Cross Stitcher, so that I'm more apt to see it. When you hashtag me or tag me, then I get notification and can see what you've posted. Now, when you're done with your project, it does not have to be fully finished, framed, or put into a pin pillow, or however you're finishing it. The stitching needs to be finished all in the month of June. Then I want you to go to our website. And I printed these out so I could show you, but also if you're on our newsletter list, you got these instructions last week in the newsletter. So go to our homepage. This is what it looks like. Sort of, it's a lot longer. And then go up here to what's new. For some reason, this didn't print in between the dots, so I had to write them in. Go up to what's new, it's the first thing. There's a little down arrow to the right of what's new. Put your cursor on that, click that, and you'll get a drop-down menu. When you get the drop-down menu, choose cross stitch camp. Then the next thing that comes up is this page. It tells you the challenges, it tells you the rules. I mean, we don't have a lot of rules, but it tells you the general guidelines. And then right here, it says share your finished June camp projects, and it cut off the little button, but that's where the little button is. Click on that. And then this comes up. And this is where you can drag and drop your photo here, or you can click this box to upload it. You're going to put your first name, that will show up under your photo. You're going to put your email address, that will not show up anywhere except to me. So if you win a prize, I know how to get a hold of you. And then you can put a caption. And I suggest putting the name of the pattern and the designer, you know, if you want to include anything else, but pattern and designer would be great. And then you click a little button down here that says upload, and that's all there is to it. Now we do go in and approve photos. Obviously, we don't want people just putting crazy photos up on the website. And since I'm going to be gone until June 10th, I'm not going to be approving any finished photos until I get back. So don't worry if you have done it and it's not showing up. Don't send us an email and ask us if it came through because you're not seeing it. Wait till the middle of the month, and if you haven't seen it by the middle of the month, maybe send us an email so we can make sure we got it. But always give us a few days to get through that, because we, you know, are busy getting your orders out too. So that's all there is to it. And then once we have photos in the galleries, you can see the galleries and see everybody's finishes. And we'll have one for June, one for July, and one for August. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And there are prizes, of course, and we've had so many things donated. Beautiful new project bags, a lot of patterns. So we try and do 8 prizes each month that we ship out, and we draw from all of the people who are doing camp with us. So, all right, I think that's everything. The next time I see you, I will have survived the long trip to Australia and back. I'm not looking forward to the trip, but I'm so looking forward to the retreat and meeting all of those people, and just, I know we're gonna have a wonderful time. So I will be back sometime in June, probably towards the end of June. And in the meantime, keep stitching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.